Hi, boys and girls. I would like to review the last couple of sessions in preparation for tomorrow's class. So here we see the pogroms that have taken place in Russia and Poland, and many Jews that were living here left. Most of them left to the United States and Canada. Very few, 50,000, came to Palestine. 50,000 from here to Palestine. Very difficult way. They had to find their way to the coast or to go by land to find their way here. Not an easy task. That was the first Aliyah, the first people that came after the first pogrom when in 1881 the Russian Tsar was killed and Jews were blamed for it. Many events happened, and during these pogroms there were 23 years of them. The worst of the pogroms happened in 1903. As we're getting close to that time, after 1903, was a particularly vicious pogrom in a city called 1903 in a city called Kishinev. Okay, and many Jews just decided to get out and leave, and that began a second wave of Aliyah, the second Aliyah, in 1904 to 1914. The Jews that left could have gone to the United States, but the ones who came to Israel, this second Aliyah, was really interested in developing a physical relationship between the land and their hands. These people wanted to work the land, so much so that they went from place to place asking to do work for them, to build roads, harvest fields, etc. What made this pogrom particularly bad, in addition to everything else, was photography was invented, and the pictures of the pogrom were all over the world. So what's happening now is we're getting close to the First World War, and we see that the dates that are taking place, 1904, 1914, the world is kind of inching towards a real war. Herzl realizes that the situation of the Jews is desperate, and he has a Congress in 1903, and at that Congress, he realizes something. Let me go back to the map and show it to you. So the Ottomans are in charge of Palestine, but remember I said that the Ottoman Empire was the weak empire. The British Empire is the strongest empire. They realize that when war comes, this area is going to be conquered. So they are sneakily beginning to make arrangements behind the backs of the Ottoman Empire. The British are telling the tribes that live here to make trouble for the Ottomans, and they make all sorts of promises to them that after the war, all the tribes that are here, if they participate with the British plan and defeat the Ottomans, they will be given countries. The leaders of each of those tribes would be a king, a sheikh, a president, whatever it was going to be, the head of the countries, the new countries to be formed. Notice these countries are not here. Where's Jordan? Where is Lebanon? Not there. Iraq, Iran, not there. So, the British are interested in this territory because there's oil here. They're also interested in this area because here there is a little canal that had just been built. This canal over here called the Suez Canal, and I'll show you some better maps of this and also why it's important. So if you could go through this canal, which would only take a few hours, you would avoid having to travel all around Africa. You just cut through the canal and you're right here. And you would save a month from any trip that the colonies of the British, the French, the Spanish, the Italians would have in the Far East. So the British made all sorts of sneaky plans so that people should rebel against the Ottomans. during the World War, in fact. But let's go back to 1903. The pogroms have just taken place, especially this vicious one in Kishinev in 1903. Herzl thinks that something has to be done. Right now, Palestine is still under the Ottomans, but the British are kind of making all sorts of moves, and somebody suggests to Herzl, why do you want to go to Palestine? There's nothing there. The Ottomans own it. People will be upset. Why don't you come to Africa? We have some empty space in Africa called Uganda, and if you go there, you won't disturb anybody. And Herzl thought a good idea for a temporary home for the Jewish people. Well, it came to the Congress in 1903, and the Russian Jews, remember, Herzl is trying to help them, and the Russian Jews say no matter what, the only place we're willing to go is Palestine. There was terrible split and damage to the Zionist Congress because of what Herzl proposed. He felt guilty, and when the Congress finished, he got up and he screams, L'shana haba'ah b'Yerushalayim, next year in Jerusalem. And in fact, all the people of the Congress get up at the end of the Congress and sing a song called Tikvatenu, which you today know as Hatikva, the hope. First time that Hatikva is being sung as an official anthem. So we will study about Hatikva later on, but let's go back now and see what happens. As the British made promises to all those Arab tribes, they also make a promise to the Jews, and they send a letter to Rothschild, to Lord Rothschild, in 1917, the 2nd of November, promising that the government views with favor the establishment in Palestine of a national home for the Jewish people, and will use their influence to make it happen. Well, the Jewish world is ecstatic. The strongest power in the world is promising the Jews for the first time ever their own country. If you examine the document carefully, it's important, but really, it doesn't say where the country is going to be. It doesn't say what the borders are going to be. It doesn't say anything, but Jews are ecstatic. With that, we're kind of in the middle of the Second World War. The war didn't even finish yet. And during the war, between 1914 and 1918, basically the world is split against two sides in the war. Germany, Austria-Hungary, Bulgaria, and the Ottoman Empire. So the German Empire and the Ottoman Empire on one side, France, Britain, Russia, Italy, Romania, and Japan are on the other side. Who do you support as a Jew? Well, let's look at what's at stake. The Ottomans are in charge of the area that's Palestine. There's also 100,000 Jews living here. So Jews cannot support Britain because there are lots of Jews living in the Ottoman Empire, and they own Palestine, so we want to be on their good side. On the other hand, Britain is the major power in the world, and it looks like they're going to win the First World War. So they're afraid to side with Britain because of the Ottomans, and they're afraid to side with the Ottoman because of the British. And they agree to be neutral, and they do not support either of the two sides. We will pick up with this at our next session.